The ultimate all-in-one electric homebrewing system is here. The new Grainfather G40 can produce up to 11 gallons of beer and features all the latest advancements in homebrewing technology, including wireless control so you can monitor your brew day from the Grainfather app. With an innovative new grain basket design that improves workflow, reaching mash efficiencies of 75% or more is easy. The 3300-watt heating element brings your wort to a boil quickly without any scorching, and the large hop plate filter guarantees that no unwanted grain matter or hop trub reaches your fermenter. Every G40 comes standard with a high-powered built-in pump that can handle temperatures over 200 degrees Fahrenheit and a full 3-year warranty that guarantees you'll be able to keep on brewing no matter what. The Grainfather G40 is available now at your favorite homebrew retailer or online at grainfather.com. Today's show is brought to you by Imperial Yeast. You hear us gushing over Imperial Yeast all the time, and that's because their yeast performs for us in every batch that we brew. Imperial Yeast is adored by commercial breweries and home brewers alike. Their pitch-right pouches are jam-packed with over 200 billion fresh yeast cells, guaranteed to deliver flawless, fast fermentations every time. Imperial Yeast strains are grown by a team of pro brewers and home brewers who live to help other brewers learn more and ferment better. Join any recipe receiving tier of our Trub Club and get a free upgrade to premium Imperial Yeast with every recipe kit that ships out to you. Learn more at homebrewhappyhour.com/club and come brew with us.
Entertaining shows with content that spreads information and sparks discourse throughout the community. This is the Pearl Media Network.
How long will milled grains last? Keeping DME on hand, avoiding oxidation when using an Auto-Siphon, and keeping beer from light when using clear glass carboys. This is Homebrew Happy Hour, episode 273. Well, hello there, and welcome to the Homebrew Happy Hour. This is the show where we supply the answers to your homebrewing questions and discuss all things related to craft beer. If you have a question you would like us to discuss on a future episode, go to homebrewhappyhour.com and click on that submit a question link at the top of the page, or now you can call or text them in to 325-305-6107. I'm your host, Joshua Stubing. Today, I'm joined by the Director of Operations at cmbecker.com, Mr. James Carlson, as well as the President and Chief Keg Washer of kegconnection.com. He brought lunch today, so he was the hero, Mr. Todd Burns.
He did really good lunch.
Yeah, I know, right? Who thought that spicy chicken sandwich would just hit the spot? But
it was perfect.
I was hangry too today. I was hangry, and I was
angry.
Yeah, I was hungry, angry. I was cursing your name, Todd. Your ears must have been burning bad today. But speaking of burning, and that's a terrible segue, and I only because things turned out good for us, I can kind of joke. Todd, this was a very serious week in the land of the Burns Ranch.
Yeah, it was a very scary week, and I was out of town as a fire was coming at our house with, as my neighbor said, 80 foot high in the air flames, which I can't even imagine. Part of me is like, God, I wish I was there so I could see it. Part of me was like, I'm not sure I wanted to see that. So it
was terrifying.
To
hear about it.
We've had I have to kudos out to a lot of firefighters that saved my home and our barn, which we do a lot of our podcasting and other events for Homebrew Happy Hour.
Yep.
So glad to have our barn/studio still around.
Yep.
And my mother-in-law's place and everything. I mean, they saved us and really appreciate it. In fact, one of our listeners, Cruz, was out. Josh, you want to tell him a little
Michael
about
Agoods, he's given us beer before. He actually drove it up though, totally legit and legal.
Yep.
But he's I think the assistant chief at Conroe Fire Department, which is Conroe's like Houston, right? Houston area?
Yeah, it's in Houston.
Houston. So that's a long way too, by the way, for them to have driven to help fight.
You know, we actually have beer in the fridge from a listener that was delivered Friday.
No, that's right. The alt beer from Brian too. Yeah, I'll get to that. Hold on. But yeah, Mike, he had told me I posted about your stuff on my Instagram, Todd, because I was coming up Sunday night and I'm packing my car. I'm about to head out, and Todd calls me, and he was still in Florida, so I knew on a Sunday he'd only be calling me. Like, why? Normally I don't answer your calls on the weekends. I'm off the clock, bud. I don't got to answer this crap. No, but I answered, and you go, "Hey, where are you?" And I said, "Oh, me and my dog are about to leave. We'll be up at the ranch soon." "No, you're not. Don't come up. There's fire surrounding it. It's not looking good." And you were terrified because, like you said,
I was terrified. I honestly thought I was going to lose my house for about 3-hour period.
Right.
And for about an hour period, I thought it was gone, and nobody was calling. Nobody was calling me or answering the phone because they were desperately trying to get out of the way or put the fire out. So it was terrifying.
And so I came up Monday evening, and I guess I either watched too many movies or I don't have an understanding of wildfires, because it was the surrounding area around you. It was controlled at that point. But to me, when I hear they have the fire controlled, I think it's out. There was like 100, it looked like little hobo camps up on the hills of fires still burning, and stuff that all these departments had under control, but it just looked wild at night seeing that. And then Tuesday morning driving to the office, and there's still just fire everywhere. It's crazy. But yeah, very appreciative to all the local firefighters and just all the departments that have been helping out, coming over here. It's been
I don't think some people don't really have a concept in Texas, like when you say, these firefighters came from Conroe. Conroe's a 4.5-5 hour drive.
It's a long way.
I mean, they really came a long ways. And the other thing was the Forest Service, the Texas Forest Service. Man, they brought in huge dozers and
helicopter
tankers. All types of equipment and worked night and day and saved a lot of people's homes, a lot of land. There was, I think, that particular fire, I believe it burned several thousand acres. I don't know the exact number of acres, but I know it burned several thousand acres. So,
and these guys, here's how dedicated they are. Tuesday night, I hung out with the crew from Nacogdoches Fire Department, and Todd, you weren't there. I offered them the good whiskey, and they had to decline. And I thought it was like a wink decline, like, "Oh no, sir, wink, we can't drink that right now." And they were gonna drink with me, and they didn't. And then they left. And same with last night, the Conroe guys. Mike, I tried to give your guys booze, and they wouldn't take it. They said, "Oh no, sir, we can't. We're on a deployment and the deployment code and blah blah blah." And I was like, "I don't remember signing any deployment code." And as I'm,
yeah, you were deployed to my barn. I'm not sure you're able to drink. Yeah, we'll have to check on that.
Oops, I broke that one. But they did say, like, one of the things we're looking forward to the most when we get back is having a cold beer. And this is the only time I wish we bottled our beer, that we could have given them some bottles to take for when they were able to drink.
I bet they can't carry that in their fire truck.
Exactly. Yeah. It would have been.
Yeah, it's frowned upon.
Yeah, you were a firefighter for, I think you said 5 or 6 years, right?
6 years, yeah.
Yeah, so you know about fighting.
Lots of grass fires.
I was going to say,
I would say 90% of the time when we had calls, it was grass fires.
That's wild to me. The people in Conroe were just how different Texas is, because they were saying this kind of firefighting is good training for our guys, because out where we're at, it's like thick pine and the humidity's different. He goes, "We don't get grass fires." And I was like, "Really?" And that's wild, because grass fires in this area are super common, right?
Oh yeah. Everyday occurrence.
Yeah. But anyway, I'll get us back to draft beer and all that stuff. But we are extremely great. I am extremely grateful that they were able to save one of my favorite places on earth. And if you want to see some of the photos and stuff, you can go to Instagram.com/Homebrew Happy Hour. That's where I posted a photo of us with the fire crew. That's where I posted some footage driving around Todd's property. It's wild, the aftermath, but very thankful that everything's there to document and that structures didn't burn down and all that. But let me get us into the other small talk. March, it is the recipe for Trub Club recipe receiving members is the brown porter. I think I can pull it up there it is on the screen. Y'all can't see it. The delicious brown porter, which comes with Imperial darkness. Super excited about getting this in y'all's hands. Those are actually the vast majority of anyone who's replied to me how they want their grains and how they wanted the recipe. It went out today. The girls helped do all the bagging of it. I milled it, helped pack. They're out the door today, and I've been putting email addresses in now on the shipping station. So you should get an email directly to your inbox if you're in one of our recipe receiving tiers of Trub Club, telling you what your tracking number is, when to expect it, and all that good stuff. So it's not too late, though. There's still a whole week left of this month. So if you want to get in on the fun and start brewing with us that brown porter, just go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour. And again, come brew with us. We'd appreciate it. It's a delicious recipe. We're still enjoying last month's recipe, which was the alt beer. Todd has that on tap. We have it on tap at my Pop's place.
I forgot I have that on tap. I've got to change the menu because I've got a different beer where that one is.
Exactly. I saw it in your fridge. I was like, wait a second. That's not the brown rye or whatever it said on the menu board. I was like, I thought you were trying to trick me.
No, it's on the one outside. It's one of those, one of the ones we did.
The bergamot. That's what it said it was. I knew it was one of the like you said, because I opened up that fridge to hook up your amber, and I said, wait a second, that's that other keg over there. It says alt beer. That's not bergamot. I thought you were tricking me so I wouldn't drink all the alt beer. You just forgot to change your menu.
I probably did.
Yeah,
yes.
And then also, no, you're good. And then also the giveaway for this month is a $50 gift card to kegconnection.com. Another big thanks to our UK buddy Simon, who donated his $25 gift card so that it would bump it up to a $50. I'll do that drawing 1 week from today on the 31st of March. That's open to anybody of any level of our Trub Club. Again, information available at patreon.com/homebrew happy hour. Gentlemen, we have a piece of feedback before we get to the questions. So it's time for listener feedback. Today's listener feedback comes from our buddy Mark.
Hey guys, this is Mark. I got some listener feedback regarding the hot bags for last week's episode 272, I believe. So I've been using hot bags since I started brewing, and I've been using a mesh hot bag that I got from a local homebrew store. It was about $5, and it works great. Cleans out easy. After every couple brews, I usually sanitize it in between long brew breaks. By boiling it. The only issue I have with the mesh bags is that they do stain. So I probably have maybe 15-ish brew days under my belt, and I probably have been through 2 bags. So for $5, these bags do go a long way. Yeah. But yeah, definitely worth the money. I do like them. They've been great for me. Thanks.
Mark, thanks for that feedback. Yeah, I think we said similar things last week, right? Where I don't even think you make it through 7 or however many he went through per bag, right? Y'all usually just the second use it and buy another one. But
you're talking about, I guess there's different types of bags. Right. So yeah.
You're talking about the nice ones.
The ones we use are very cheap, So
yeah. He's talking about the nicer ones that, like I said, he said $5, but $5 for a bag to get you 7 or 8 brew days. That's not bad. That equates basically to the kind of bags we're using, 1 per brew, doesn't it? And his is more, is more earth friendly though too. And y'all know that's been my shtick lately. Is I watched An Inconvenient Truth again, and I'm going to join that club. But anyway, no. Joking aside, I don't want people writing 1-star reviews now. He made a joke about the environment. I don't think he's being serious. No, I love the earth. I love it. If you listen to this week's episode,
anybody wearing a hat like that gotta love the earth, right?
I think. Yeah. Every time I come to this town, they think I'm some hippy dippy Austin hipster liberal. I love it. I play that role to a T. But all these big old boys, country boys, you wear that Carhartt hat. Do you do Carhartt stuff? And I say, right? Are you prepositioning something to me? I don't understand what's going on. But anyways, thank you, Mark, for that feedback. We do have 4 questions for y'all on this week's episode, starting with our first question. Oh, wait. I was getting ready to read. I don't need to read. It's from our Irish buddy, Danny. He left us a voicemail at 325-305-6107.
Hey, fellas, how are you? It's your friend Danny from New York. Just one question for you guys. So, life has got hectic the last 6 weeks or so, and I had bought a dry Irish stout that I was to brew. It was going to be my second brew and my new Robo brew, which I love. But I ordered it crushed as I don't have a mill 6, 7, 8 weeks ago, and I have not had a chance to brew it. When the grains are crushed, do they have a timeline before they can be used, before they go stale, or can they be used indefinitely? Thanks very much, fellas. Hope you have a great day. Goodbye.
Danny's voicemail. First off, we love Danny. James, you're the one who got him hooked up on that Brewzilla.
Yeah.
And
we actually sold him that machine.
Before you get to the answer, I want to say, because he's Irish and it just jogged my memory, happy belated St. Patrick's Day, Danny.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know if that's
he's a good guy.
I don't know if that's rude stereotyping, like, oh, the Irish guy must celebrate St. Patrick's. But it's like, it is the Irish holiday, isn't it? I know my.
Yeah, I don't know why that would be rude.
Okay, I'll just make sure.
You think it's rude to
point out that he's. I don't know.
No, that's not rude.
My Irish wife. I've got my kids so brainwashed. My kids are predominantly Irish because my wife's 100%. Both her parents are Irish, and I've got my kids thinking the little bit of Mexican they got from me makes them full Mexican. So they're like Cinco de Mayo, like, ay, 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 these little white girls. And then on St. Patrick's Day, my wife's holiday of the year, and my girl's like, yeah, not really interested. They wear green so mom doesn't pinch them. But it's
that's
great.
Just wrong.
I know
that's
it's
just wrong.
Yeah, that's what fatherhood's all about. But anyways, James, because you did some of the equipment, I'm going to throw you the question with grains and milling them. I know we have the luxury of using that mill, and we don't usually mill till it's time to brew. But you know, it happens. People get our kits in our Trub Club milled because they don't own a mill, and sometimes life gets in the way. How long would you say, if you get it and you don't think you're going to brew soon, should there be a certain way you store it, or what is the best way to handle grains that have been crushed already and you know you're not going to brew for a while?
Oh shoot, throw it in the freezer.
Like immediately?
That's what I would do. Yeah. Just throw if you've already got it milled and you've got it in a bag, of course you're going to have it in a bag, and you're worried about them getting stale, or just make sure the bag's sealed off, throw it in the freezer. That's what I've done in the past. Works fine.
And so, yeah, that's a good point. And if let's say hypothetically it's been at room temp though that whole time, is it fastly degrading the quality of the grain, or is it going to be negligible as long as it's not like extreme temperatures?
I think that when you're doing all grain, it's not as important as extract or dry or liquid malt extract. Those can get kind of oxidized, and you can definitely taste the difference. All of us has in the past with a older LME or DME, and you can definitely taste the difference if they've aged. And sometimes they don't age very well, but with grains, you're creating sugars from starches. So I don't think it's quite as big a deal.
Well, and also something, if you ordered the kit, then that means, you know, someone prepared it crushed for them. I know, like with ours, when I'm bagging up the grains, they're not vacuum sealed, but they are as airtight as I can get them before I seal them off. That's got to help too, right? With storing, like, because oxygen is what's going to be killing those grains, or exposure to it, right?
No, of course, but you know, like I said, we're creating sugars from starches, so I don't know that by the time it turns into sugar wort and we boil it down, it's
Gotcha.
Not as big a deal.
Gotcha. Todd, what were you going to say?
No, just agreeing that oxygen is a problem. Yeah, anytime you oxygenate something, if you grain is a lot more stable in a full kernel because it's got natural protection around it. So as soon as you open all that up and start getting oxygen in is when you can have issues, but it's issues with, in months, not issues in days. It's, if he, what did he say? How many?
He did say 6 to 8 weeks. That's a couple months.
Yeah. 6 to 8 weeks. It's a decent amount of time. It's always better to use them, to grind them use them fresh, but I don't think it's going to hurt if it's 2-3 months out, particularly like James is saying, if you put them in the freezer. Put them in the freezer really would make a big difference, and trying to get them as absolutely as air free as you can. If you've got one of those vacuum sealers that a lot of people have at home, that would help a lot to vacuum seal it and then throw it in the freezer. So
yeah, and I was going to say I don't have a mill, and so this is. I'm not taking my own advice. I think best case scenario would be getting your grains unmilled and having a mill, because
that's my preference.
Right. I mean, y'all don't mill until you are brewing.
I usually use them within like less than 24 hours of when I mill them. So it's pretty quick.
Right.
But I had a lady that reached out to me a while back, and she had a recipe that was over a year old that she found in a closet. And it was milled, and she asked me if she should throw it away, and I said, well, if you throw it away, that's not gonna. What's the disadvantage except for time? Try it. And she emailed me back and said it tasted great. So, I guess it was in a real dark, cool place, and it seemed to be fine. So it must have been sealed pretty well. But anyway, I don't know. I don't know what the exact. I don't know if there's an exact answer too, because freezing it obviously helps a lot, because what's going to make a huge difference is temperature variance, humidity, all these factors. If it's getting all these changes and high temperatures and that sort of thing, then I think you wouldn't be able to store it for a very long time. So.
Right. Absolutely. And if you can't get your grains unmilled and mill them yourself, y'all both would agree then that receiving your recipe, if you're not brewing within a day or two of receiving it, just go ahead and throw them in the freezer. That's best case. Best practice, rather.
Yeah. I mean, if I was going to brew in a week, I don't know that I'd even bother, but if it's going to be a while, I would definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I say funny. I use that word wrong all the time. We do know a lot of people.
Funny ha-ha or funny weird?
Funny weird. It's funny weird. There are a lot of people in our community of the Trub Club or just our extended circle who get overzealous with like bulk buying grains, or they buy a bunch of recipe kits. And then, like Danny said, life gets in the way, and like, oh, I'm backed up like 8 recipe kits. But most of them all say, my freezer's full of all the grains, and the fridge is full of the hops, and like people, they have spare fridges in their garage now that were intended for either groceries or a beer fridge that's now like ingredient containing and storing. And it's funny. I guess I like that. I'm spoiled because, like I said, when I'm here, I grind my grains on y'all's mill upstairs when I'm going to, within 24, 48 hours of brewing. And that's been best results for me. But I understand mills. Well, I say that mills they're not too terribly expensive, right? You can get a decent mill for the $100 range, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah. Something around there like that.
Yeah. So that wouldn't be the worst case, but not everyone has the space to mill and all that. I get that. But yeah, to wrap up your question, Danny, I think if you haven't already thrown them in the freezer, if you're not brewing for any time soon, do that, or keep them stored in a cool place. But like Todd said, there's not probably an exact science between this is the shelf life for milled grains as much as there's just best practices to mitigate any potential oxidation, right?
Yep.
Okay. I think I wrapped that up good. Danny, thank you so much for submitting that question. Great time to remind you, if and when we take your question on a future episode and it's a voicemail, we give you a $25 gift card to KegConnection.com. Text or emails or the submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com. Get you a $15 gift card to KegConnection.com. Our second question is a text message from our buddy Richard using our hotline at 325-305-6107. Richard wrote, "You always say to keep DME on hand. Which type of DME? I am new and found no less than 6 varieties: pilled, amber, pale, golden, etc. Should I store a bit of all, or which is most common in case I need it?" It's right. We do always say it's good to keep DME on hand. It might save your brew day one day, or raise up the ABV when you need it, or whatever, making a starter. DME is very versatile. James, what is the most common DME someone should be keeping?
If it was me, I'd just keep the pale. That way, if you needed to add gravity, you may not want to add to color. So light DME is my preference.
And Todd, I don't even see DME at your house. Do you have a preference, or you just agree with James?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, light, obviously. Yeah, it was super light DME.
I know you're saying, I mean, it's funny because I was going to call you out like, oh yeah, obviously, but it's true. Like what James said does cover that. Pale won't affect your color as much as if you were like amber DME.
Yeah,
and
at that point, all you're trying to do is add sugar. You're just trying to get your sugar up, right? So,
right.
Yeah.
And
I mean, technically, you could even use probably other kinds of sugars in a pinch. So,
yeah,
it is true. We carried at one point all the different types of DMEs, and I was always impressed with how popular Munich is. Munich wheat, I think, is what the DME was called, or maybe it was just wheat. I forget what the label had said, but it went out with a lot of recipe kits. I was surprised, just like you said, in pale and golden light. But I think pale by far, or pills, pardon me, is what I'm thinking of. The pills and DME was probably the most popular I saw go out with recipes.
And a lot of people use dextrose to bump up their alcohol if their alcohol's low. I mean, it's pretty common. Somebody will brew a recipe and then they want a 6%. It's a 5% recipe. They'll put some of that, which is basically corn sugar. So
yeah, and it's fully fermentable too.
Yeah.
We need to make a list maybe of what brewers should be storing in their freezer. We could put that. We could make a very short.
Put it on the website.
Yeah, very short article for Homebrew Happy Hour that just has a checklist of like these things can get you out of a pinch if need be. US05, some light DME. Maybe noble hops because you're obviously brewing Kolsch, other things. But yeah, we could keep a list of things that people should keep. But yeah, we do always talk about Richard. But yeah, I think in the context of what James and I and Todd are talking about when we say have DME in your freezer or in your fridge, we're always talking about light, because that's going to be the less invasive or changing. What's the word I'm thinking of? It's going to have the less dramatic effect on your beer if it's not like a pale or something you're brewing. But anyways, I think we answered that one, right? We're good?
Yep.
Moving on. Thank you, Richard, for submitting that question. Third question is another voicemail. It's our buddy Will from Kansas City.
Hi, guys. This is Will from KC. I hope you have an alternate solution for me. This weekend, I transferred my beer from my fermenter, which is a big mouth bubbler, to my keg using an Auto-Siphon. Well, it happened. That dreaded sound of sucking air happened not once but twice during the transfer process. I recently replaced this Auto-Siphon and the hose because I had this issue before, but it happened again. So at this point, I'm looking for another way or a better way to do this. I don't want my beer tasting like cardboard. So thanks for taking my question. P.S. Todd, I called in just so you could have another voicemail question.
Yay! Thank you.
Thank you, Will. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm gonna give him a $25.25 gift card for that.
There you go.
Well, and he called you out, Todd. I'll throw it to you because I believe this has happened to you before. You've had this issue.
I've had this issue more than once, and what I've done on mine, I've found two things have happened. One, I've actually gotten little hairline cracks on an Auto-Siphon before, and I could see that it was sucking some bubbles in on those hairline cracks. And I think they occurred because maybe I left it in sanitizer a little too long or something like that. I'm not sure. Just over time, they're not real expensive, and over time they do. That hard plastic can crack. It's kind of the same plastic they make the bubblers out of, which are kind of notorious for cracking. So that happens. But the main reason I've had the issue is that even though I've had the right size siphon hose, it gets wet and it starts to suck a little air in it. So what I've done is I've shoved that siphon hose as far down as I can get it. And then I would have put a worm clamp on it, and I'll screw that worm clamp down. And that seems to make all the difference in the world. I haven't had that issue anymore, but when I've just put a worm clamp with a short piece of hose on it, I have continued to have the issue. So pushing the hose as far as you can. So I know you can't see, some of you, because you're not on the video, but it kind of makes a loop. And if you can get it up over the other side of that looper as far up as you possibly can. That seems to really help a lot. So, I mean, it's a pretty straightforward question. And then the other, he may be looking for other alternatives to an Auto-Siphon as well. I mean, you don't really have to have the Auto-Siphon contraption. You could just use a hose too. So, and siphon using a hose. I don't like to do that because I like having the little cap on the bottom that gives you some room between your trub or your, what's settled down and the top of where the beer is. That seems to help a lot. But technically, you could just use a hose, and then you're definitely not going to have that problem because there's nowhere for air to get in.
When the maybe I'm thinking wrong. Oh, there's the camera jumping around. When you do your pressure transfer from your glass carboy, you're not taking an Auto-Siphon in. That's just like a thief. What is going to the bottom?
Yeah. I don't use when I'm doing a transfer that's actually using pressure, then I'm not using an Auto-Siphon at all. So what I do with that is I drop that. So I actually do have a tube on it that I use right now, but you don't have to. You could use a hose, but I have it on a tube, a plastic tube, just like the one on an Auto-Siphon. And I push that all the way down to the bottom. And what I do is I push it about halfway, I let it flow, and then I could say, it's starting to get to the point where I'm getting close to it sucking air in. I'll continue to push it down. And then a lot of times what I'll do is I'll push it down until I'm just starting to get a little trub come in, and I'll pull it up half an inch, and I'll turn the glass carboy on its side and let it kind of suck till it gets to the very last point. You get a little bit of trub in there, but it just settles down, and you pretty much suck it out as soon as you start pulling the first beer out. So that's what I've done in the past, and it seems to work for me. I like that system, and it works really, really well.
What about? I mean, I know obviously. If you have a conical and stuff and a pump and all that, that's also an option. But could you use one of those little pumps? Like, remember, James, that food grade pump you got when you retrofitted the mash and boil to have recirculations? Could you use one of those cheapo pumps for transferring as well? Or are they not really meant? You don't want to.
The only thing about that is sometimes you can get cavitation for some reason, and you talk about oxidizing the heck out of that. Boy, it would do it. Okay. The only pump I would use would be like a piston pump, like a BIB syrup pump. They make beer pumps that do the same thing. The reason why is it's drawing in fluid and pushing it out with a piston versus something that's spinning that can actually trap air, which is with cavitation. So I wouldn't use a pump.
Okay.
One other thing I would mention too, when you're doing the coming out of the glass carboys, I always purge the glass carboys of any air. So even if it gets to the point where it's sucking air up and I'm seeing air go through, some people might go, "Oh my gosh, you just oxygenated your beer." Well, no, it was CO2. It wasn't oxygen. So, if you do see some bubbles when you're doing that, don't freak out if you've purged all the air out, because all it is just CO2 in there.
Oxidized your beer at that point, right? I still don't remember. Oxygenate is the infusion of it, and for brewing terms, isn't that when you want the oxygen when you're like oxygenating the wort? You don't want to oxidize.
Well, you would still you have to oxygenate to oxygenize, though, right? I'm just making that up.
Okay. Man, you had such a good poker face. I was like, because I'm not editing this out, right? If people are gonna leave feedback, at minute 31 and a half, Mr. Burns said, and that's the feedback I want for next week. Like, you idiot. Actually, I might change my voice on a voicemail and just make something up and be like, that dummy, he said this. No. Well, I think. Like
water off a duck's back is what it will happen with me. You know that.
Absolutely. Yeah. You used that same with me last night. I forgot what it was. It was something about getting upset about your mistakes. I said, "Oh, I've never had that problem." And yep, like water off a duck's back. That's not nice. Man, I wonder, Todd, I forget that the equipment, because I'm so cheap. My dad and I have been using the same Auto-Siphon since 2017. Is that a piece of equipment that you should replace preemptively to avoid like noticing it when it's too late? Like what? I just don't know because we haven't had issues.
I wouldn't worry about it. If you're not having issues, I wouldn't worry about it.
Okay, because I didn't think about. We don't sanitizer does kind of not deteriorate. It can eat into the stuff if you leave it on.
Yeah, you don't want to leave it like overnight or leave it for a few days or something like that. I mean, sometimes I may accidentally leave something in sanitizer and not realize it. So
I've seen that out on your porch.
I know it'll turn our pretty silicone hoses white.
Yeah, you know that too. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
They look good though. It looks like you customized the tubing in our brew room. I like it. They're extra clean. But Will, thank you so much for submitting that question. We are flying today. Our last question comes from our buddy Reed, who used the submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com. Reed wrote, "Hello, HBHH. I love the podcast, fellas. Very fun to listen to. It's like hanging out with my friends every week." You're poor man.
Oh, you got the same friends I do. Those jerks.
Thank you for the infotainment. I am relatively new to brewing, just picked it up during quarantine 2020. I started with an old stock pot I already own and 2 glass Carboy fermenters I bought at a garage sale. I've been brewing extract and I look forward to all grain brewing in the near future. My question is about clear glass carboys and keeping my beer safe from light. When people say to avoid direct light on your beer while it's fermenting, they're referring to sunlight, right? Can artificial lights light the LEDs of my spare bedroom where these carboys usually go? Can those lights also ruin my beer? I haven't made anything too terrible tasting yet, but I'm curious if I should be covering these with something or throwing them into a dark closet for best results. Keep up the great work. Prost. Thank you, Reed, for all the kind words. I know it doesn't hurt to throw a trash bag over your glass Carboy, even if you're keeping it in a dark closet, right?
That's exactly what I was going to say. That's what I did. I had not only a closet, but I would get just a kitchen trash bag, a black one, cut a hole in the center of the bottom of it for the airlock, and throw it over it. You're done.
Yep. And I think my pops started doing that secondary actually is usually when we do carboys and we throw those in the fridge. I think we've done it before because he had a blowout one time and the trash bag was underneath. You know what I mean? It was more for cleanup than it was keeping it from light. But I actually don't know the answer, guys, to the part about artificial light. James, is that going to be can your run-of-the-mill LED?
I would think any light's photons. So, any light that hits it, it's possible it can turn it skunky.
Okay, because I knew UV, like sunray UV, is the ultimate enemy in regards to causing skunk, right? Like those, I've had beer sit out and like clear Corona. Remember
that's a perfect example. Also Heineken
and Heineken, those sit out in the light at all. Yeah,
exactly. Because when you have it in Amsterdam, it tastes totally different than what you're drinking here.
Does it really?
Yeah.
I had no idea. Yeah. The clear, I mean, that's why most people bottling here don't use clear bottles for that reason, right? They want to keep.
And like in Sam Adams' case, the carriers, the 6-pack carriers, they're actually, the cardboard is taller to cover more of the bottle so light doesn't hit it.
Interesting.
So there's another major fire list said that neighbors have called. I don't know what's going on, but y'all sound like y'all have this question handle. I'm going to call my dad real quick.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah,
all right, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for joining us this week.
Bye-bye.
Now we can talk about him. He did take off the headphones. Okay, I can talk about him. Gosh, he
muted his,
Oh, he did mute it. Okay.
Yeah. And I think now there's, I believe the last time I talked to when we were in Amsterdam, they may be brewing Heineken now in the States just due to the fact that the skunky taste and smell is because of light hitting the bottle. I know that when we went through the factory tour that one year, it was really good, but it didn't taste anything like what you drink here. And from time to time, I'll get Heineken just because I'm always liked it.
I was going to say, it's not bad, but that is interesting. So like the trip it was taking over, the exposure to light or whatever is what caused it to be different from the source.
Yeah, and it's got green bottles. That's why most beer bottles you see are amber or brown, and it's for light.
Interesting. Heineken's also one of those ones I won't digress too much. Didn't they, the world bottles, or what were they called? Remember, they were also, they could function as a brick when you were done with it. Do you remember?
Yep.
I remember reading about those. I'm sure I was alive when they came out, because that was probably the 80s. It sounds like a very 80s idea. But yeah, how interesting. But
the best example is what you said, is Corona by far.
Oh, I know. Well, one time, the place I trained jujitsu, there is downtown in city of Kyle, Texas, and there's bars all around it. And so they're always finding alcohol bottles or cans all strewn across their property. It's unfortunate, but drunks don't care apparently about littering. So one day though, somebody left out a thing of Corona extra in there. It was in a bottle, clear. And one of my buddies goes, "Oh, you dare me to drink it?" I go, "Yes, I dare you to drink it." And the look on his face,
that's not beer in those bottles.
Oh, it was sealed. It was a sealed bottle.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I know, right? Yeah. Wait, is Corona usually this tint of yellow? Yeah. You're right. It looked like some dehydrated urine is what it looked like. But he
give me that beer, you pumpkin pie hair-colored freak.
But he did. He asked me, "Do you dare me to drink?" Todd, we're talking about someone leaving Corona, some drunkard leaving a full bottle of Corona in the yard of my buddy's business. And one of my other buddies I trained with found it, and it was like, "Do you dare me to drink it?" I was like, "Yes, I do." Just the look on his face, it was horrific. The skunky Corona, and I smelled it, and I didn't taste it though, because I was like, "No, I don't like Corona anyway, much less a skunky Corona." But. Yeah. So, okay. I'm learning something.
Yeah. We were watching, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead,
Josh. We were watching Jeff Foxworthy last night, and he was talking about Larry, the cable guy, was staying in a hotel room next to. It's a long story, but basically Larry kind of played a bad joke on him. And in the beginning, like 20 minutes before in the comedy routine, he talked about being in the stairwell and having to pee so bad he peed in a beer can. and then at the very end of the comedy skit, he's like, "Larry, to show you there's no hard feelings, I brought you a beer." He said it was Old Milwaukee, and when you smelled it, it didn't smell any different than the real thing. So
that's funny.
That's a good friend. Everything okay over there, or you have no idea?
But, everybody is on edge. So, my next door neighbor called my wife freaking out, and my wife called me, and I texted back. I guess my phone overrides out of office if it's my wife calling. I didn't realize that, which is probably a good thing. And she wrote back, "Emergency" in all caps. And then she said, "There's a huge fire." Blah. And my dad and uncle, I called them, and they're like, "Yeah, we're driving over there now. It's not a big deal."
Okay, good.
We don't think, and we'll call you back if it is a big deal.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, like you said, everyone understandably is on edge. That makes the most sense right now, that being vigilant, right? Vilver and I, like I said, that Tuesday morning, I was flagging, I didn't have any cell service, and I saw a fire in the ditch. Oh my God, this again. And Texas Parks and Wildlife guy happened to be there and pulled over, and he looked at me like I was some city idiot. Like, this is what fires do. They smolder. And I was like, "That's not a smolder. Those are flames." And he's like, yeah okay.
Oh, well, you know what? My neighbor just sent me photographs, and it's pretty big flames, actually. Wow. Huh. Well, just one good fire after another, isn't it?
Ay vey. Yeah. Anyway, well, you probably got to get going soon. I'll wrap up the show. So, Reed, right. Long story short, Reed, avoiding light in general is the best policy for your beer if it's in a clear carboy. I also, on our buckets in my office, like I said, I put trash cans and stuff over it, trash bags and stuff over it. But that's
the great thing about a bucket is it's not going to let any light.
Correct. Yeah. And I do that for the clean up parts, because sometimes I'll get blowovers or blowouts, and I just don't want to have to mop it up. So if it just blows into a trash bag, but with the carboy, it's to keep the light out, because I haven't seen.
I tell you what, when I first started brewing, I used a towel. And, like I mentioned on the podcast before, I had a big old plastic heavy gauge feed bucket, and I would leave it partially submerged in water, and I would throw cold chill packs, and I had a thermometer on the front of that feed bucket.
Yep.
And then I would that's why I stopped using towels, because it would wick into the towel. So I just throw a plastic bag over the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it was nuts because it was in a closet. The door was shut. It's not like it was going to get skunky. It was just me being weird.
You say
that was what I did.
You say you being weird. You're not on Reddit anymore to where you don't know. Like my favorite topic on Reddit is sanitation, because some people just take it so far where they're like, if you do not cough in the vicinity of your batch of beer, do not do that.
Right.
You always soak your hands in sanitizer between every. Some people take it to the extreme where, I guess, knock on wood, my pop and I have been lucky, because we're lucky if we notice the tube is not all the way to the bottom of the keg when we're transferring. Like, maybe if we drink it quick enough, we won't taste the cardboard. But yeah, like you said, I mean, there's a happy medium somewhere, right?
Sure.
But basic practices of, like you said, avoiding light. That's an easy one. Reed made it seem like he has a dark closet he can start using. Yeah, use it. If it's available, throw it in there.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. You'll be totally fine.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Todd, you're back again. I'm trying to get rid of you, man. What are you doing?
Oh, I'm just I'm not worried about it that much. So
okay. Well, we're wrapping up the show now. I thought you were leaving, but and that is the last question of the week. Thank you, Reed, for submitting that, and everyone else on this week's episode. We appreciate y'all calling them in, writing them in, whatever. Guys, thank you for y'all's time. I appreciate that.
You bet.
And I guess I'll catch y'all next week.
Bye-bye.
And that will do it for this episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. If you have a question you would like us to discuss on a future episode, go to homebrewhappyhour.com and click on that submit a question link at the top of the page, or be Todd's best friend and leave us a voicemail at 325-305-6107. Brew better beer with the new Grainfather G40 all-in-one electric system, available now at grainfather.com. Also, get a free pack of Imperial Yeast along with premium recipes from us when you join our Trub Club. Go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour and come brew with us. On behalf of Todd Burns, James Carlson, and the Pearl Media Network, I'm Joshua Stubing. Thank you for listening.